Okay, you ready? Yep.
I'm ready.
Great.
Especially a smaller child.
Great.
So, you want to begin like, am I here or this is
We're gonna
No,
go
that
here.
one. Is it okay there or should we bring it here?
It depends on what he sees.
Okay.
He sees
Good?
everything, so he's good. Great. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're about to get started.
And I was gonna say, and feel free to eat while this is happening, so don't let us stop you from eating.
Exactly. Just a few things before we get started. The restrooms are out the building, out of this room here, and take a right, all the way into the back. In the kitchen area, water is free, coffee. If you want any of the snacks, you need to pay for that. Okay, so we are very excited to have our first meeting here at the Nova Labs.
So I'm Monica.
Oh, sorry, and I'm Stephanie.
We got that right this time.
Yeah, I know. Last time in December, I just switched. and
You said
was
she was
Monica.
me, but okay.
Yeah, okay. But we're very excited. This is our first meetup here in our new location. We're so excited everybody could find it. Was it easy to find?
Yeah.
Can I just have a show of hands? How many people learned about this through Nova Labs?
Our meetup.
Or the meetup through Nova Labs? Okay.
Great.
Meetup. How many heard about this from Meetup? Meetup.com. Ah, okay, great.
Mostly.
We're very excited here to have Jishan come and present for us in a two-part series on coaching.
And feel free to come back to the next one. They're separate, independent, but we would love to have you come back again. And the other item we wanted to mention, as we've done in our previous meetups, you are able to get 2 SEU units for your time spent in our meetup, and you have to process that with the Scrum Alliance yourself, but this counts where a little sign shows. We are a Scrum user group with Scrum Alliance, so we count toward those if that's helpful for your certifications. And then the other thing I was going to mention, just flew out of my head.
We are recording tonight.
Yeah.
We are not recording the audience, so you don't have to worry about it if you
But
don't
I would
have
like to
yourself
take a few
recorded.
pictures for a posting to the meetup or to LinkedIn, so just let you know.
And the recording will be up on the Meetup site or a link to the Google Drive where we're going to have other artifacts.
So, without further ado, we're very excited to have Zishan, and please come and introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Thank you. I'm so excited to see a lot of lifelong learners here. My name is Zishan Amjad. I am a Chief Scrum Master in Northern Bromance as well as the Agile Transformation Leader there. So I'm actually responsible for the whole program that consists of 13 teams from Waterfall to Agile. And we are actually doing initially with the less transformation, now we are moving towards the safe transformation. So people like to know about the credentials. Just I hope now you feel more comfortable with whatever I'm talking. Coaching. So first of all, let's discuss with what the coaching is. Before discussing with the coaching, let me tell you one story. My daughter, when she was a toddler, just started speaking. Just like any other toddler, they have very few words to communicate the message. And they are using the same word for more than one purpose, more than one thing. Like, my example is, my daughter used to say ball for 3 different things. So, naturally, the ball is a ball, obviously. The green pea, she used to call green pea as a ball. And there is a game in my iPad that has a ball. So you used to save iPad as a ball. So whenever she is asking for the ball, we have to understand what is the actual context. And that is exactly true in all of the communication. Maybe you're already familiar with these type of things in your organization. If you are going with respect to the Agile world, because this is a Scrum user group, maybe you heard sometimes the term team. Now I'm confused. Are you talking about the Scrum team or the dev teams? Sometimes they're talking about the word backlog. Okay, now I'm not sure. Are you talking about the sprint backlog or the product backlog. Same is coaching. A lot of people might have a different definition of coaching. And it is very common, not only in the industry, but as well as the practitioner, they are actually mixing up the terms of coaching with something else. So that is actually the first part of today's session. As we already discussed, this is going to be a two-part session. In the first part, we are discussing the coaching and what a couple of coaching techniques. In the second part, we are going to discuss the coaching mindset and some of the anti-patterns related to the coaching. Let's come to the coaching. First of all, what is coaching? If you take a look at the definition, this is one of the definitions. Coaching is a less directive style of conversation. What does it mean by the less directive style? It means that I am not going to order you what you are supposed to do or what you are not supposed to do. As a coach, I believe that you are intelligent enough, you are smart enough, you have already taken many decisions in your life that you can solve the problem. I am not going to solve your problem. Take a look at another definition. Coaching is unlocking the person's potential to maximize the growth. Okay, if I'm not solving your problem, then what I'm doing? What is the point of coaching? It is basically everyone has a potential. I'm just using the coaching techniques maximize your potential. How you can solve your problem. We are going to discuss a couple of techniques today, then you will have a better idea. Take a look at one more definition. It's very much similar to the previous one, but little bit extension on it. Unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance and helping to learn them rather than teach them. That is an important point. It is not about I'm going to teach you. Do you think I'm coaching right now? No. Unfortunately, in the industry, it is very common when they hire you as a coach, whether it's an agile coach, they expect you to solve the problem. They expect you to give the solution. That is not what the coach is supposed to do. There is a difference between the coach and trainer. And that's what we are going to discuss in the first phase.
Yeah, I didn't want you to get tripped up.
Thank you. So the most common terms that are actually confused with the coaching is it can be a training, mentoring, facilitation, therapy. Let's discuss this thing one by one. First one is comparatively easy. Therapy. This one is easy to handle. How? Because therapy is actually related to the past to present. If we take a look at from the timeline point of view, coaching is from present to future. If you have some past problem, some people are afraid of dog, maybe in childhood, some dog bites. Some people have some past complication. If that is the case, and someone comes to you with that particular situation, you are not qualified to solve those type of problems. You cannot do it via coaching. Actually, being a therapist needs a lot more education and lot more experience as compared to being a coach. And nowadays, jokingly, one of my friends suggested that if you want to be an agile coach, it is very easy. Just go to the LinkedIn and change your title. Obviously, you cannot do it with therapist. So take a look at this thing. Therapy is about the past. Coaching is about the future. Therapy is about some sort of feeling related things, some sort of unresolved things they want to solve. Coaching is not about the feelings and resolving the things. It's about the action, what you are going to do, and the goals, what you are trying to achieve. Here, we are trying to find the root cause. Why the person behaves this way. In coaching, we are focusing on the solution. We are not giving a solution as a coach. As a therapist, you have to be an expert. As a coach, you don't have to be an expert. It is a content independent thing. What does it mean? Last weekend, there was a Super Bowl going on. Honestly speaking, that might be surprising for most of you. I don't know the rules of the Super Bowl. Do you think I can be a Super Bowl coach? Hold on your thought. Next one, please. Take a look at the mentoring. What is mentoring? So, the mentoring is actually based on your experience. You are sharing your experience. Coaching is actually, there are professional techniques, frameworks, models you are doing and following with the coaching. In this case, mentoring, you actually have the expertise of the content. That is not the case of the coaching. Mentoring is pretty much about the telling mindset. I am telling you, based on my experience, this is supposed to work or this is not supposed to work. That is not the case with coaching. Coaching is all about the asking mindset. That is an important thing. One is a telling, one is asking. What are you trying to achieve? There is always a possibility that in one particular organization or one particular job, you might have to play the multiple roles, you might have to play the both roles. But you should aware that at one particular moment, which hat you are wearing. Are you doing a mentoring in this time, or are you doing a coaching in this time? What do you think I'm doing right now? Am I doing a mentoring right now? Am I doing a coaching right now? Hold your thoughts. Next one, please. Facilitation. There is one thing common in facilitation and coaching. Both has content independent. Facilitation is about getting the best out of the meeting or the group of the peoples, can be small peoples, large people. Same as with the coaching, trying to get the best out of the peoples. What is the difference? In facilitation, when you are supposed to do some sort of facilitation of any meeting, you usually don't attach very much with the result. You try to be neutral. Okay, I am not going to be biased in any direction. I'm not going to lead you in any one particular direction. I'm just trying to get maximum out of you. So in coaching, you are sort of slightly less attached to the result and the team or the person or the group. However, in case of coaching, that is not the case. In coaching, you are engaged with your coachee or the team or the group, so you can get best out of the coaching. That is one of the main difference. I want, as a coach, I want higher responsibility to the growth of the person I am coaching. As a facilitation, I have less responsibility. I'm not worrying too much about whether the conversation is going in one direction versus another direction. Take a look at one more. Next please. Oh, I think we missed one. If you go back, we missed one. I think you clicked one twice. One back, back, back. One more. Training, we missed this one. What is happening in the training? Can anyone do a training without an expertise of something? We need the expertise. We need the content expertise. I know all of you might recall some of your instructors you don't like. But general expectation is you have to be an expert. You are actually transferring knowledge. Here, we are not transferring a knowledge. We are actually enhancing a knowledge. by asking a question, not a simple question, you're asking a powerful question. We are going to discuss what the powerful question is in few minutes. Training usually it is happening in the form of group. Coaching is usually not in the form of group. Usually it is on one-to-one basis. It can happen in the form of group, but it is actually happening for a short time training. You attend some of the training. Almost all of you have some sort of certifications, and the training of that certification, I'm not expecting you are doing it for a long time. That is not the case with the coaching. Coaching is actually a longer process. So now we discuss actually 5 things: therapy, coaching, mentoring, training, facilitation. Now, I actually ask you hold your thought for a couple of times. Now I ask the question, what do you think I'm doing right now?
Training.
That's why I said to hold your thought.
Okay.
Okay, can we go to the diagram, please? This diagram, I try to explain all 4 of them. I explicitly excluded the therapy from here because therapy is related to the past. So take a look at this diagram. I know the color doesn't look really good on the projector, but once you get the slide from the Meetup website, I think it is quite easy. So if we categorize into broad categories, so one is related to the process, these 2 are focused on the process, coaching and facilitation. These 2 are actually focused on the content, training and mentoring. So you can broadly categorize in these 2. You can easily identify if someone is focusing on content or if someone is focusing on the process. What do you think I'm doing right now? Am I focusing on the process or I'm focusing on the content? Don't you think this is something related to the coaching?
So, process.
It is a training of coaching. Okay, take a look at this one. Low responsibility of a growth, facilitation and training. You went to the trainer, attend the training. Trainer makes sure that whatever the objectives are, that objectives met. You excel during the training, and if there is an exam after that, you excel in that exam. What is after that? How many of you are in touch with the trainer after the training is over for your personal growth? That is not the case with a mentor. In mentor, they have the high responsibility of your growth. Usually mentoring is happening in one-to-one. I can guess maybe all this confusion is because of the term sport coach. We are using this term coach, but in reality, that is actually a mentor. Now take a look at the example of the Super Bowl. Now I'm going to ask the same question. Do you think I will be a Super Bowl coach? Do you think I will be a Super Bowl mentor? You got answer. You got A grade. Let's move on. So we are going to discuss some coaching techniques here. There are a lot of techniques. I am going to focus only 3 techniques here. Listening, powerful question, and reframing. How many of you have IC Agile training, ACC, coaching training? Nice. So we have some people here. You actually discuss only first 2 there. Now for those guys, you have a bonus. We are going to discuss something that is beyond IC Agile, ACC coaching curriculum. So we are going to discuss these 3 techniques here, but coaching is not limited to these 3 techniques. These are the 3 techniques I picked because I found it very useful. I use it almost on a daily basis, and I don't want you guys to stay here all night. I have to restrict to some number so we can complete it in a short time. let's discuss with the first one. Listening. This is one of my favorite because everyone here is willing to speak. Maybe not in front of the audience, but everyone is willing to speak. Everyone wants to speak. No one wants to listen. Or if they listen with the intention of reply, not the intention of understanding. Let's take a look at this thing. Do you remember this author?
Yes.
7 effective habits, and then the 8th one. But there's a book actually for the 8th one. Take a look at one more example. Most of the successful people, I have known, are the ones who listen. If you work with any leader, not a manager, it's the difference between leader and manager, then you notice that leaders prefer to listen more. And when I came to this type of role and transition, I used to attend the meetings 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. and sometimes not speaking a single word. Take a look at one more example. This one is actually more suitable for you guys. When you are speaking, you are only repeating what you are saying. That's exactly what I'm doing. But when you are listening, there is a possibility that you will learn something new. So you guys are actually at advantage than me. I'm just going to tell whatever I know. As one of my teachers is saying, that teacher is going to teach only whatever he or she knows, no matter whatever the subject name is. Let's go a little bit deep down. Active listening, I'm using this term from the co-active. They are using these techniques, the active listening, and there are a few levels of the active listenings. So take a look at the level 1, internal listening. What does it mean by the internal listening? How many times we came across a situation when someone is talking and we are eagerly waiting to stop him or her so I can start? How many times we came across a situation, someone shares some experience and we do have something similar experience. And as soon as we heard something, we immediately focus on how can I share my experience related to this one and forget the rest of the conversation. It's all about me. I'm not going to make active level 1 listening is a villain. Sometimes we need level 1 listening. Let me give you 2 examples where we need that. When you are a coachee, definitely you need a level 1 listening. Because it's all about me when I'm a coachee. Let's take a look at another example. 2 weeks from now, I am actually planning to go to Ohio. I have never been in Ohio before. That is going to be my first visit in Ohio. So in a new city, what I'm supposed to do in that case? When I'm going to find the direction, the restaurant, the hotel, or anything else, it is all about me. I'm not supposed to do some sort of coaching activity when I'm going to find the direction. Does it seem reasonable if I'm going to ask the powerful question to get the direction of my hotel? Level 2, focus listening. I assume most of you are doing this right now. Obviously, I cannot tell. This is one of the things I cannot observe. I cannot observe, or I don't think so anyone can observe what level you are listening right now. So this is all about the focus. I am focusing as a coach, I am focusing on my coaching, so I can understand the message. We are going to see a couple of examples, again from the collective. Take a look at the third one, level 3. That's a global listening. that is very difficult to achieve. Very much focus. Your coachee is a center of universe. You are paying all the attention to the coachee in such a way you have to pay all the attention whenever he's talking about this particular person. He starts shaking his leg. Whenever there is a traffic going on, horn going on, he blinks his eyes. So it is not about the word. It is not about the message. It's about everything, all the surroundings. What can be the deep inside message? What is going to be the external impact? So you are listening with all the powers. As a coach, we are supposed to listen at level 2 or level 3. And it is quite common and quite natural that as a listener you keep shifting between level 2 and level 3. But if you are listening at level 1, then you are not doing coaching. Or you are not doing a proper coaching.
Can you give an example of level 3?
Sure, I'm going to give an example of all of this.
Okay.
Level 1. All of these examples are taken from the collective book. I'm going to give the reference at the end of the slide. So this is actually the conversation. So just take a time to read the sentence. What is the problem of the client? Let me read it for you. The new house is a mess. I've got boxes everywhere. I can hardly get from the front door to the bathroom. And I have gotten the biggest proposal of my career to finish by Friday. You are a coach. Just imagine you are a coach. And your coachee, your client, came up with this sentence. There is a possibility you have came across this situation in your life in past. And instead of focusing on his problem, you just recall your experiences. Next sentence, please. I went through the same thing last year. The key is to make sure you have got your long-term vision in sight. This is a reference. Proactive coaching, changing business transformation, lives, 3rd edition. What do you think coach is doing here right now?
Level 1?
It's all about me. It's not about the coach. Oh, not about the coachee. Take a look at the level 2 example. Same starting. Exactly the same sentence. Take a look at the response now. How important is it to get settled at home? This is the most productive time you have had in your business since you started. Now, coach is actually focusing on understanding the message. Take a look at the next sentence, what the response might be. Actually, the conversation is a bit longer for all of the examples from the same book I mentioned. You can read the complete conversation from that book. I just picked portion of it for a couple of reasons. First, it can fit on a slide in a big enough font so you guys can read it. And I don't want to start the examples and dig down in and forget about the rest of the techniques. So take a look at the next sentence. I know, but I don't help out with moving in. I could be living solo soon. If you know what I mean, my wife did nearly all the packaging last month while I was traveling. What is the response? Take a look at the response. How can you deal with the situation at home and still maintain momentum with a new business? Before moving forward, if I ask you how you are going to say this is level 2, not level 3. Is the coach understand the message correctly, or is something else is important in this message? I know it takes time. I cannot expect all of you or any one of you to give the answer in a moment. And that's exactly what needs a practice. That comes over time. So, in the level 3 example, the initial conversation is exactly the same. It's the same sentence the client said. It's the same response from the coach. The next one, please. It's the same thing. Till now, nothing changes. Same response from the client. Till now, the conversation of level 2 and level 3 is exactly the same. What is the difference? Take a look at the last one. It sounds like this is more important issue than just some boxes to unpack. I get a sense you are packed as tight as some of those boxes. What does it mean? It is not about the boxes. Looks like maybe by this conversation, this marriage is in trouble. Now you understand the difference between the level 2 and level 3. So you are trying to understand deeply what the message could be. I admit, level 3 listening is not easy. It takes time. It needs practice. Let's take a look at another coaching technique. Questions. Knowledge is having the right answer. Intelligence is having the right question.
I have a small question on the previous slide, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, we saw the response from the coach in the end, but that could turn out to be a very negative conversation from going forward, right? Because it is dwelling towards this personal issue, and you are a professional in the professional setting, right?
So what do you expect coach is supposed to do?
Maybe give some guidance on what makes more sense for him, and what his
If that is
priorities are in between.
If
correct?
that is the case, is he doing a coaching?
Okay.
If he's providing a solution, is he doing a coaching?
No.
But-
That's exactly what we discussed.
No, right. So my thing is like, I would ask for the priority. What is your priority here? The marriage or the proposal, the business proposal he has?
We haven't discussed the marriage yet. I'm just sensing that might be a problem. If you go to the end of last slide, nothing is related to marriage discussed here.
Right. It is not discussed, but then clearly you can see it and you feel it, but then you, instead of asking that question upright or putting that statement, would you be more conservative?
Okay, so let me ask you one question. When you get up in the morning, what you are supposed to do if, like, say, your collar of your dress is not correct? How you are going to correct this thing? Probably you go to the in front of the mirror, see yourself if something is wrong, and correct yourself, right?
That's when I know that problem is there.
If that is the case, what the mirror is doing? Is mirror solving your problem? Mirror is just reflecting what you are. If you tie your shirt button incorrectly and you see yourself in mirror and mirror is showing you that your buttons are untied, whom you are going to blame? Are you going to blame the mirror? You are showing it incorrectly. You are correcting yourself. Mirror is just showing you, reflecting you, this is what the current reality is. They just unblock the mental things. Now it is unblocked. Now you can see, oh, I never thought from that point of view. I can actually give one interesting example that exactly happened 1 hour before I came here. I'm going to discuss during the question also the same examples. That's exactly what the coach is doing here. Coach is just doing, okay, looks like there is something more serious going on than just boxing and packing things. He's just reflecting what the current reality is. He's not solving the problem. Mirror is not solving the problem. Mirror is just showing you what you are. Hopefully I answer your question. Did I answer your question?
Maybe I can ask you separately.
Okay, we can follow that.
Can I just have a comment on that?
Sure, please.
I was thinking because you're thinking it's a little sensitive area, if the person hadn't said, my wife did the unpacking, my wife did this, they opened up that conversation.
Right.
So, to me, it was like, if they open it up, then I can reflect back, potentially. But if they never said anything, you might maybe not want to bring that up to your case.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing on the top of that, in the coaching, we have a coaching agreement at the beginning.
Exactly, I was gonna say that, I was raising my hand saying we are making an assumption. I mean, one thing is established here, which is probably not on the slide, is the coaching agreement has been established. And all of that has been squared away before the conversation started.
Got it, okay.
So if we take a look at the ICF, there are 11 competencies here. The first competency is actually the coaching agreement. So you have to decide the boundaries where you can go and cannot go. If you are taking any professional coaching classes, then in the very first day, the first 15 minutes, they are going to discuss, okay, whatever we are discussing here, we are comfortable with each other, we are open, we are trust, we are vulnerable to each other. It is not going to be disclosed outside the class. If we don't have that type of trust, how can we open?
And also, what is the desired outcome of?
Yes, that's a coaching model. Unfortunately, we don't have it here in 2 models, but if there is a demand, we can definitely add more things. We have a discussion about adding the coaching model, but we, for the sake of time, we compromise this thing because there are tons and tons of coaching models available. Probably the most famous one is a grow coaching model, grow and the cohesive one. Can we move forward? Did I answer your question? Albert Einstein, very interesting thing. If I were to solve a problem and my life depends on it, I would use the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. I actually came across a very interesting variation of this one. And the very interesting variation, I hope most of the people here are to some way, one way or another way related to the Agile. So one of my friends gave a little bit twist in this one. Instead of first 55 minutes to determine the proper question, first 55 minutes to incrementally and repeatedly asking the question so I can find the correct question. Being Agile. So we give the Agile flavor to the Albert Einstein. Next please. Let's discuss the powerful question. We discussed the powerful question in a couple of slides ago, but I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the powerful question. In fact, the first time when I heard the term powerful question with one of my friends who is already here, I have no idea what the powerful question is. He was teaching me, asking the powerful question. I said, what it is? Question is a question. How can we distinguish this is a powerful question, this is not a powerful question? What is the date today? Anyone remember? What is the date today? Everyone knows the answer immediately, whether the right answer or the wrong answer. Everyone knows the answer. Does it count a powerful question? Powerful question is open-ended question. I'm going to give you tons of examples. It is not, I will ask the question and there is only one possible answer you can give. February 5th. Technically you can give me more answer, depends on what calendar you follow. But the answer is very much determined. Usually in the form of what and how. Not necessary, you can have a powerful question, some other forms also. I'm not trying to gather some information and I'm not trying to lead you anywhere. Sometimes I am going to ask a question, but it is not actually a question. It is a suggestion with a question mark at the end. Maybe you can recall yourself, something like that. Why not we get approval from the manager first? That's the question. Have you considered talking to XYZ person? We are actually leading towards somewhere. Usually it's short. 7 is not a magic number, but the shorter the question is, the wider the expected answer is. And I'm actually going to discuss this again in part 2 when we are going to discuss the anti-pattern. Sure.
I have an idea for another bullet, which is it's powerful if it has the effect on the person of helping them think, like they ponder and then they come up with the answer. Like the powerful part of it is not the question, it's the response that you get to the question.
Thank you. We are going to discuss this anti-pattern in part 2 also. And because this thing is mentioned, let me add one more thing on top of that, the silence. As a coach, you have to be comfortable with the silence. If you ask a question and you didn't get a response, what is our natural tendencies?
Try to fill in.
Maybe I didn't ask a good question. Maybe let me rephrase this thing. Maybe let me try to explain it a little bit more. On the contrary, it may be an awesome question because your client, your coachee has to think, and he might be thinking deeply to find out the answer, and by just rephrasing your question, you interrupted his thought. So the point is that you have to be comfortable with the silence. If you are not, you want to say something? Okay. If you are not comfortable with the silence, then my recommendation is learn this thing. Let's say a couple of examples. Let's take a look at it. What does fun mean to you? Can you answer this question straight away, just like you give the answer of what is the date today? What is stopping you? My favorite one, what else? And one variation of this one that is also very useful. And what else? Usually you ask one question. Take a look at any of the examples. What does fun mean to you? People think and give the answer. And you patiently wait. Once the answer is finished, instead of asking another question, what about and what else? Sometimes you are getting a better result in the second attempt, not in the first attempt. Because what happens when you ask the question, they flush whatever they can think of. And then you ask, and what else? Okay, I've already told whatever I'm supposed to told. Now what else I can tell? Now they have to think a little bit deeper and then come up with an answer that has a deep meaning, deep thinking. Take a look at any of the example. What is getting in a way to achieve this? Now, we will upload it into the Meetup or wherever the site is. I already give everything to the beautiful organizers. If you could do it again, what would you do it differently? All of these questions are examples of some sort of thinking, deep thinking. It is not like getting the answer immediately on the spot, right now. Okay, all theory. Let's do some practical. These are a couple of anti-patterns. I picked a couple of anti-patterns and see what can we do this anti-pattern. How many times we came across this thing? Actually, this happened to me today twice. Management attending the retrospective. Have you faced this thing?
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
What was your plan of action in that time?
You mean beforehand or?
Whatever you want to do. I give you some tips. Feel free to use it or feel free to ignore it. One way is you can simply ask, I'm sorry, you are not allowed. If you are confident enough, feel free to do it. If you have your resume ready, 2 more offers, feel free to do it. Actually, that's exactly what I did today. I'm sorry, you're not allowed. On the contrary, we can do this thing. Instead of telling, why not ask? What will this bring to you? what do you want to achieve by attending the retrospective? How else can you help the team other than attending the retrospective? This is a common response. I want to help the teams by attending the retrospective. I want to see what the problem is. I understand. How else you can do it? How can you make best use of your time to help the team? How can we give the best environment to the participant of the retrospective? Especially the last one where we are giving them an opportunity to think what might be the impact if the management tries to be in the retrospective. Some tools for you, feel free to use it. No copyright. Oh, go back. I don't want to show the answer now.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No follow-up of the last retrospective. How many times you came across this thing?
Anytime.
Many.
What is your plan of action in that case? Retrospective is supposed to be no blame game, and if we are not doing anything, we started blaming, if not each other, we started blaming ourselves. Let's take a look at the questions. What have we accomplished since the last retrospective? What is our progress of each item we discussed since the last retrospective? What other options we can think of? What do we want to do differently this time? And what did we accomplish that should be celebrated? Probably you guys already noticed all the questions started with the word what. I actually have a whole article on it, some personal marketing. Feel free to take a look at a couple of more anti-pattern and solutions on my LinkedIn if you want to. I just picked two here. Reframing. This is new to most of the people who have only attended the IC Agile. And my favorite one, I use it on daily basis. What is reframing? Providing a coachee another perspective and a way to see the situation from a different perspective to see a new option. Let me tell you a story. There was a king. Most of the stories start with a king. Once upon a time, there was a king. Or there was a queen. Gender neutral. So one day, the king decided to get his destiny and asked one astrologer. And asked astrologer to tell us about his future. Astrologer did some work and came up with a conclusion that all of your relatives dies in front of your eyes. King became very upset and very angry. And he immediately punished the astrologer. Next day, king asked another astrologer. And another astrologer did all the calculation and he came up with a conclusion: you will get the longest life among all of your relatives. Now kings become very happy and pleased and avoided that astrologer. Notice, both said the same thing. It is just a different way to present the thing. That is what the reframing is. I'm going to discuss a lot of examples here. My favorite technique, reframing. My friends knows that I'm using it on daily basis. And you never know, maybe I'm using it right now with you guys. Next please. What is this?
A shape.
Saying
how you look at it.
Next please. Next please. Both are correct. It's just a different perspective. Take a look at one more example. What is this?
Infinity.
Depends how you want to see it. It's same, yeah. It's 8 or infinity. How you want to see it. Or G. Yeah, in the previous one, actually, in one of my previous speaking, I showed the same slide and one person said exactly the same thing, G. And I was waiting, someone said the same thing here. You are the first one. You are showing the Scrum value of courage. Congratulations. Next one, please. Reframing. Okay, that's an interesting one. What do I want from a life? What does life want from me? Another example, next one please. Don't ask the kids what they want to be when they're grown up. How many times we are doing this thing? How many times our parents ask this to us? Don't ask the kids what they want to be when they're grown up, but what problem do they want to solve? This changes the conversation from who do I want to work for to what do I need to learn to be able to do that. Now you are getting a feeling why reframing is my favorite. And hopefully by the end of the conversation, yours too. Take a look at a couple of statements and their reframings. It's a problem. It's an opportunity. Every problem is an opportunity. We don't have enough resources. By the way, all the examples are from here. Facilitators Guide to Participatory Decision Making, 3rd edition by Sam Kanner. Although this book is for facilitation, but this has a very good chapter on reframing, and all the examples are from that book. So take a look at this. We don't have enough resources. We are wasting the resources we have.
That's a good one.
Our goal is unachievable. We don't have our goal broken into realistic steps. We don't have enough money. We haven't figured out how to find a new source of income. How many of you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad? Tons and tons of reframing in that book. I cannot afford this. What can I do to make it affordable? Now you are in a reframing mode. I love it. Next, please. Some examples, again, I think the examples related to Agile and Scrum. There's a myth. I don't need a question right now. Thank you. There are a couple of myths around it. One myth. In Scrums, we spend too much time in meetings. In fact, back in 2009, when I was introduced and I scrummed the very first time, I was in that club. Too many meetings. Probably you are hearing this thing also. As an Agile coach, what are you supposed to do in that case? Again, in a coaching mode, instead of giving the answer straightforward, I'm just using some of the coaching techniques. Maybe I can ask a question. Take a look at this couple of suggestions. How can we use meeting efficiently? That might be the reason people are thinking we have too many meetings, because they are actually saying we have too many unnecessary meetings. What other ways can we do inspect and adopt if we don't have these meetings? So you are just trying to switch the table, turn the table around, and ask them, how can we do this thing? Okay, you think you have too many meetings? How can we do inspect and adopt without a meeting? Take a look at the next Scrum myth. A Scrum Master must be present in the daily Scrum. How many still believe this? The Scrum Master is supposed to take the status. What you did, what you did, what you did. So it means the Scrum Master has to present in a daily Scrum. Take a look at a couple of questions. What value he or she is going to add in the daily Scrum? What other ways the Scrum Master can help you other than being present in the daily Scrum? One more bit. I have a couple of examples for you. We get more values with a higher velocity. How many times we have this discussion? I have this discussion today. Maybe a good day for you, bad day for me. Again, reframing. interesting day for today that I came across these real life examples right before joining this meetup. So I can share you live, less than 24-hour old. If you are a customer, what does velocity mean for you? If you are a customer, how do you correlate velocity with the value? Now you have some more tools to discuss with your manager and the team members. Let's see one more. A sprint backlog cannot be changed during the sprint. We already saw the rule. Let's take a look at this. How do you inspect and adopt during the sprint? Are we supposed to do the inspect and adopt only after the sprint? If you discover something new that does not impact the sprint goal, how do you make it transparent? Take a look at this. Again, personal marketing. I have a couple of more, actually 4 more in my personal article. Feel free to take it. I don't want to hold you here for full night. I have a lot more to say. And I think that's enough for today. And we will continue this thing in part 2. And now it's your time to ask a question. And we already discussed about the importance of questions. And now you can prove yourself that you are asking really good questions. What else?
And what else? And what else?
Full marks.
Good one.
Instead of what if, it was what else. Any question?
What's the next certification you're planning on taking?
Business Agility Foundation coming weekend.
Wow.
Business Agility Foundation.
Yes.
What was the coaching book that you referenced earlier?
From the coaching book point of view, there are a couple of books. For example, the Coactive book is the only book, to the best of my knowledge, that covers the whole competencies of ICF. There are 11 competencies. Now, actually, last year they changed the model. So sometimes it's difficult to read for the newcomers, but it's a very awesome one. Oh, thank you. Again, personal marketing. Now it's a group marketing.
What is that book name called again?
I forgot the book name, but there is only one that's a 3rd edition, Coactive Coaching, something like that. It's from the Coactive. The other one is
The other one was facilitators guide.
Facilitator is actually for facilitation, but they have one chapter in reframing. And there is this one, Coactive Coaching, Changing Business Transformation. That is not the book I was saying, but this is also a very good book. That is also from the Coactive one. There is one very small book. You can read it literally in one setting. That's a coaching mindset. That is actually a topic of my next part 2 presentation. There is a book of the coaching questions, where you will get tons and tons of questions, where you will actually came to know few techniques of how to convert closed question to the open-ended question.
So what's that name called?
I don't remember on top of my head, but I can give you one example exactly from the same book. There is a closed question I'm going to ask, and then I'm going to convert this closed question into the open question. So, for example, someone came to you and said, it is not working. So, one question I can ask is, have you tried this? Whatever I can say. Have you tried this? It is a closed question. The possible answer can be either yes or no. And the response you are getting is either yes or no. When you say, have you tried this particular method? Have you tried this thing? Have you read this book? Thank you, Kishore. Kishore is searching the book in the meantime. So you can get the name of the book from the Kishore. Instead of asking this question, have you tried this? I am going to ask a question, what have you tried so far? So instead of asking the closed question, I actually convert that closed question to open question. Actually, I have an interesting discussion before leaving the office today with one of my team members, and he was saying he loves the why question. And everyone is familiar with the 5 by tools. I said, okay, that's really good, that's cool. I'm not denying this thing. But when we are dealing with a person, I prefer, instead of asking why, I prefer to start a question with what. Because as soon as you start the question why, people immediately goes to the defensive mode. Why you are wearing the blue shirt? Why you are wearing still the office badge? Why you are still nodding your head? Why you are doing this thing? Instead of giving me some deep food for thought, you start defending your action. You are justifying yourself. But if I start the question with what are you trying to achieve by sitting like this? Okay, now we have a conversation. Why you have 3 monitors? The person might respond, okay, I actually need 4 monitors. I already request for the HR, but that's somehow stuck in somewhere, and you don't know how much time I have to spend on 3 monitors. I literally have so much work. I need 4 monitors. You started depending. What are you trying to achieve by having 3 monitors? Sure.
And still, if you're in a conversational part of your day where you're not in a coaching role with that person, you have to kind of gauge why you're even asking the question to begin with. Right? Is it for your own sake, or are they asking you to help them with an outcome that they have?
Exactly. That's what the goal is important. When we are deciding the coaching agreement, we decide, okay, this is what we are trying to achieve. What is the expected outcome of this session? We are not sitting here just to ask a bunch of questions. We just bought one question book from the Amazon and we just attend the course, and now we are certified coach. Now we have a bunch of questions and people come and just have to ask one question after another because we are a coach. 3 questions at a time. Awesome. Where should I start?
Yeah, what is your advice to become how to become a career agile coach?
If I reverse this question to you, what is going to be your answer?
For me, currently I'm a business analyst, and I did some Scrum like 1 year as Scrum Master. So my idea is to get more experience as a Scrum Master and get certification in Agile coaching, and read more books about coaching, and try to see if you can practice this in your company.
Okay, that's awesome. Can we learn the swimming just by watching the YouTube videos? How do we learn the swimming?
Practice.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Or did you answer your question?
Yeah, if you have a chance to practice it, but if you don't, how do you deal with that?
What is stopping you for not practicing?
Maybe the company culture, your management, whatever.
What is stopping you to not practice outside the company?
You can volunteer, definitely, yes.
What is stopping you to not ask this question with your kids?
Okay.
Instead of asking why you screw up this thing, why you went to that particular festival, what is stopping you?
So from your experience, how did you do it?
I exactly did it 30 seconds ago with you.
Practice. Right.
Probably you didn't even notice. I didn't answer your question.
Okay.
I was in a training mode, and to answer your question, I was no more in a training mode.
Okay.
Did I answer the question? Or did you answer your question?
Yeah, kind of.
We can follow up this one, but there are 2 more questions.
Okay, sure.
Now people might offer that I'm not getting responsible, I'm getting a bad question. Hold on. Sure.
How do you work with somebody who prefers they don't want the questions, they just want the answers? Like, They don't want to expand on the issue.
That is fine, and in Agile world, one of my very favorite instructor, Damon Poole, said several times that that is fine, because being an Agile coach, it is our job to perform all the roles. We are not coach all the time. Sometimes we have to wear the multiple hats. Sometimes we have to wear the mentor hat, and we have to answer. Okay, you don't want the coaching, you want the explicit expertise. Now I am in a mentor mode. Right now, I'm in a mentor mode. Right now, I'm in a trainer mode. I'm not doing a coaching. Just a few seconds ago, I was in a coaching mode. Suppose, let me give you concrete examples. Where's the restroom? So, what do you think? Should she start doing a coaching with me?
What do you do?
In that bathroom. Your goal. What's your goal?
See? Mentor mode, coaching mode. Sometimes we need mentor mode. I'm not saying mentors are bad and villain, but depends on the situation. If something is so obvious, if I'm just asking where's the restroom, if we ask a question like this, what are you trying to achieve? Is it a good conversation? Okay, one more question from.
Yeah, so, if we one of the ladies who asked, the question,
I'm sorry,
Can you speak up,
have to be
please?
a little bit
yes.
vocal, I cannot hear.
One of the ladies who asked a question before about coaching. So initially when I first started coaching, I thought, well, that's my job, coaching. So, then you can get into a situation where people do not understand what you do as a coach. You may feel your job security. And then you may start coaching just for the sake of coaching, instead of pulling back and see, because coaching is really more like a servant data. It's not like, hey, you, I need to coach you. So it's really someone coming to you and then asking to be coached. So that's something that I needed to learn initially. And maybe also because before I was like a project manager, I had this driver personality. And with coaching itself, you really have to do self-control, constant self-check to actually really discern the hero and not get out of the lane. Because anyone who wants to, anyone who wants to be coached needs to be willing to listen. Otherwise, no matter what you say, it's not getting anywhere. That's my experience.
Thank you. So all of you are qualified to become a coach because you have been listening and bearing me for more than an hour. Congratulations. You are certified Zishan. Any other question? Sure.
I should just add at that. Is agile coach, are you referring to a title? Just go, as you said, right? Go to LinkedIn and change your title. Then you're agile coach. Coaching is part of life. Coaching is part of day to day. Everybody's a coach at different level, doing it, right? So you could be coaching some teams or some people or something. You are already a coach. So if you want like title agile coach, anybody can just do some certification and just say I'm agile coach. If I have like 40 years experience, I can be senior agile coach or enterprise agile coach. So it's just a title. So it's a practicing, right? Practicing day in, day out and doing it. That's what agile coach.
Thank you. I appreciate you adding this in. Any other feedback? Any other go back? Any other question, comments? Sure.
Who is your coach?
Lot of coach. Damon Cole is my coach. I attended the Quacket coaching. He was my coach. John Maxwell. I attended from the John Maxwell Interactive Virtual. That is my coach. And these two guys, Iqbal, Kishore. So I got an also. In fact, Iqbal actually introduced me to the coaching world. From the Iqbal, the first time I heard the word powerful question. Sure.
So when we talked about the third level of listening, wherein you're trying to observe the person as a whole and try to also look, study the non-verbal messages that the person is trying to give you. Have you tried coaching somebody over the phone because they're not in proximity
that's an interesting question because, sure, word please.
So over the phone, I learned the entire Scrum from Yishan.
Huh?
But that is not coaching.
Scrum coaching.
So, sure, word please.
I was gonna say, I have been coaching Agile teams for 14 months only online. It is so much more difficult.
Yeah. So-
It is magnitudes more difficult and challenging. And yet, it forces you to become a better listener of just the words. You don't see the whole body. You don't. When I finally met some of the teams in person, I was like, oh my gosh, you're that tall? I had no idea. I thought you were just this, shoulders and head.
That's nice. Let me give you from my personal experience.
And you're not, you don't even have, they don't even
Or,
turn the
you know,
video
like
on.
even a Skype video. or
Yeah.
whatever,
Even without the
seeing
video.
that person so much, but how do
Let me give you from my personal
silence?
experience. So when I was in a coactive in the very first course, in the very first day, we are supposed to coach someone outside the class. And I didn't get an opportunity to find someone, so my instructor actually arranged a person to be in a coach. I was in Virginia, the person was in New Hampshire. So my very first coaching was actually over the phone. So yes, it is possible. But as this lady said, how much message we are communicating via word? Anyone ever studied this thing? 7%. Only 7%. 93% message is non-verbal. So just imagine how little scope you have when you are doing a coaching over the phone, and how much difficult it is. If I'm just using the percent, then it is 10 times difficult. Sure.
I can add to this, because I had to actually coach people remote, coach people in India, coach people in North Carolina, while I was in and one thing that I noticed is when someone just coach me once, actually wanted to go coach. So it's just a communication, you need to be so the technique I used was just that the person talk. And then after a while, I did a position using the mirroring. And if I can only do the mirroring if you first have taken the time to listen. And then you have the phase of the silence of the listening. So, and the decision maker does not want to have silence because the silence is being and you want to break that silence. I use the technique even for when I wanted to in a Scrum team, I wanted them to talk, and they thought I was supposed to be the facilitator because I was both coach and Scrum master. I had two roles at the same time, and I stayed silent on purpose, and it made the whole team so uncomfortable that they remembered how a daily Scrum meeting went, and they just went back. So it's really, it takes a lot of the core thing is self-discipline, the self-checking. To make sure that you stay your own lane and give the other person enough room to think about the process.
If there is no other question, then we can call this off. I hope you find it useful, and I hope you will join me again for the
So if you guys want to stick around for just seconds, we usually have done a group picture that we post, if that's all right with you guys.
Sure.
If anybody is not interested, then you can feel free to.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
guys.
thank you for coming, and yeah, we just hope to see you next month and the months
the next-
after.
next month
Yeah,
will be
it's,
part two.
Yeah, it's always, and it's always gonna be the first Wednesday of the month.
Okay, okay, great.